All right, so puzzle making. It's not just like a couple. Like I did some searching online. You got like a whole collection, designed by Bram, and this is just such a cool kind of. I have to imagine this is a cool way to kind of take the pressure off of what can be a very weighty topic. Be it BitTorrent or recently Chia and crypto networks and all this kind of stuff. So what actually goes into creating these?
I just get obsessed sometimes.
Hello friends, subscribers and guests of the channel. As for me, you are likely to still be worried about the question of who is hiding behind the personality of Satoshi Nakamoto. I have reviewed a huge number of videos, a huge number of bloggers who, in turn, have analyzed a huge number of articles, but everything revolves around the same people. And as for me, it all began to look like some kind of vicious circle. But friends, there are no hopeless situations, of course. Most of them are looking for the devil in detail, but this is a completely different case. In this case, you need to approach the matter a little more superficially. Before that, on the channel, I have already released videos with my vision of the situation with regard to the creator of Bitcoin. And in this video, we will try to systematize the information more. I promise it will be very interesting. So, here I have drawn up a scheme of all the suspects for the role of Satoshi in chronological order, and now we will briefly go through each of them. So, 2013, Shinichi Mochizuki. Sociologist Ted Nelson suggested, by the way we will return to him later, that the pseudonym of Nakamoto is hidden Shinichi Mochizuki, a Japanese mathematician known for his work on the ABC hypothesis. Nelson's argument is that Mochizuki demonstrated the level of intelligence and breadth of knowledge which in his opinion were similar to Satoshi's skills. Mathematical knowledge of the creation of Bitcoin required a deep understanding of mathematics, cryptography, and game theory. Anonymity. Satoshi Nakamoto was known for his secrecy and Mochizuki for his restraint and avoidance of publicity. Japanese roots. The choice of Satoshi's Japanese pseudonym suggests a connection with Japan, and the Japanese origin of Mochizuki corresponds to this aspect of the secret. Mochizuki himself noted his involvement in the creation of Bitcoin and no longer gave comments on this matter. 2013. Ross Ulbricht. Founder of Silk Road, an anonymous site of e-commerce on the Tor network, which allowed users to hide their IP address of their computer and their location. Among the goods were narcotic substances and fake documents. In 2013, two Israeli mathematicians, Dorit Ron and Adi Shamir, published a document stating the existence of a connection between Ross Ulbricht and Satoshi Nakamoto. They based their suspicions on the analysis of the Bitcoin transaction network. However, later Ron and Shamir abandoned their assumptions. 2013. Gavin Andresen. Several reasons that caused such assumptions. Andresen's working relations with Nakamoto. At the beginning of his work on Bitcoin, Andresen regularly communicated with Nakamoto, discussed technical changes and ideas for future protocols. When Nakamoto decided to leave the project in 2011, he handed over to Andresen control over the Bitcoin repository and the key to the network notification. Andresen's technical knowledge, ability to apply major changes, and a deep understanding of the Bitcoin code point to a level of knowledge suitable for anyone who could generate a cryptocurrency. 2014. Dorian Nakamoto. Full name, Dorian Prentice Satoshi Nakamoto. In March 2014, the Newsweek magazine suggested that Dorian Nakamoto was the creator of Bitcoin's Satoshi Nakamoto. The article noted that these people have a lot in common. For example, they are libertarians and have Japanese roots. Dorian Nakamoto, a physicist who graduated from the California Polytechnic Institute and worked on secret defense. Dorian himself refuted all speculations and stated that he has nothing to do with Bitcoin. 2015. Craig Wright. In December 2015, two American publications, Gizmodo and Wired, published large-scale investigations. As a result, Craig Wright, a 45-year-old entrepreneur from Australia, was named a possible candidate for the role of the real Satoshi. As evidence, Wright provided a cryptographic signature from a private key used in the first Bitcoin transactions by Satoshi Nakamoto himself. However, the crypto community was skeptical of Wright's claims. Security researcher Dan Kaminsky came to the conclusion that Wright's statement was a deliberate fraud. Changpeng Zhao, the founder of the Binance crypto exchange, also called Wright a swindler. 2015. Elon Musk. In 2015, former SpaceX trainee Sahil Gupta suggested that Elon Musk could be the creator of Bitcoin, Satoshi Nakamoto. Gupta cited as arguments the deep knowledge of Musk in economics, cryptography, and the C++ language, as well as the use of the expression bloody hard, which in his opinion is typical of Musk. However, Elon Musk disproved these assumptions and tweeted that this is not so. 2016. 3 candidates at once: Adam Beck, Nick Szabo, and Hal Finney. Adam Beck is one of the first to receive an email from Satoshi. In 2016, the Financial Times called Beck among potential candidates, along with Nick Szabo and Hal Finney. In 2020, on a YouTube channel called Barely Sociable, it was stated that Beck was Satoshi. Beck rejected this statement. Nick Szabo, a specialist in cryptography and law who published a work on the digital currency BitGold, which is considered a direct predecessor of Bitcoin. A publicist, Dominic Frisby, who conducted his own investigation, also found indirect evidence, but as he self-admitted, there is no direct evidence that Szabo is Satoshi. Well, about Hal Finney, I think it's unnecessary to tell anything, because everyone knows that this person was the first to receive a transaction from Satoshi. 2021. Len Sassaman. In 2021, there was a theory that Len Sassaman could be the creator of Bitcoin. The author of this idea, Liang, indicated for several reasons: a coincidence of the time of Sassaman's death and the departure of Satoshi Nakamoto from the crypto community. Nakamoto sent the last message 2 months before Sassaman's death on July 3, 2011. Sassaman's expertise in cryptography with open keys, on which Bitcoin is based, also raised suspicions. Plus, he worked on the TCP/IP protocol, which is based on the Internet and the Bitcoin network. Sassaman's work with Hal Finney, who was the first to receive a transaction from Satoshi. The similarity of languages of Sassaman and Nakamoto. Despite the American origin of Sassaman, he used British English in his works. However, in 2021, Sassaman's wife, Meredith Patterson, refuted these assumptions, stating that her husband was not Satoshi Nakamoto. Well, friends, now I would like to ask a logical question. Has anyone from the above people ever created super large-scale projects? Well, besides Elon Musk, who was the co-founder of the PayPal payment network. Yes, most of these people created great concepts, great ideas, plans, but in my opinion, none of them implemented them in practice. But now I want to consider a person who perfectly fits into this picture, who is very close to this whole scheme, and I still can't understand why the activity of this person in relation to Bitcoin is completely and entirely ignored by the internet community, investigators, bloggers, and others. Now let's try to figure out the essence of the problem, friends. It will be very interesting. The first criterion is scale.
I had a quarter of your audience 4 years later, but 4 years later is a big deal because you had 37% of the market share back then, right?
That's right. The traffic of the BitTorrent P2P network in 2004 was 20 to 35% of all traffic on the internet. But how was BitTorrent developed? You won't believe it, but it was developed alone by programmer Bram Cohen.
So BitTorrent, to get it up and running, took me, a year and a half working by myself.
In the intro, Satoshi Nakamoto himself said this: for transferable proof of work tokens to have value, they must have monetary value. To have monetary value, they must be transferred within a very large network, for example, a file trading network like BitTorrent. Pretty cool. That's pretty wild. Have you ever heard that quote prior to me saying that one just now? You've heard it, right?
I think so. Like, people have told me that they, like, in the early days of Bitcoin, they would like sit there talking to Satoshi on IRC and they'd be torrenting stuff together. Well, so first off, the name Bitcoin is an obvious homage to BitTorrent. It's an overt homage to BitTorrent. This is not some conspiracy theory or anything. That was clearly the explicit intention of the name.
So what do we have? A person who alone created the first stable P2P network. It is quite open to say that the creators of Bitcoin referred to BitTorrent, which he created for inspiration, so to speak. The second criterion is knowledge of cryptography and programming.
I was a programming prodigy as a kid. There wasn't much programming to be done at the time. It was kind of early for computers, but there was like a Core Wars programming competition that I entered into when I was 12 and did fairly well on. Yeah, there's another bit of trivia. There was a thing called C-Robots, where you programmed robots that shot at each other. You programmed to control them. And that one, I wrote something that, there were some issues with it, but I wrote something that just slaughtered the whole suite of robots that it came with. I was able to do that.
This means that from an early age, Bram Cohen already had the skills of hacking, and in this video, he gives a lecture on cryptography, or rather, on varieties of hashing functions.
The obvious choice is SHA-256, because it's the standard. And the really big benefit of SHA-256 is that it's the only thing that really has hardware acceleration. And it's the only thing that's going to have widespread hardware acceleration for the foreseeable future. Unfortunately, SHA-56 isn't super fast in software, and on top of not being super fast in software, it has just funky padding issues. Unfortunately, Blake 2B has a 1024-bit block size, so it's actually slower. Yeah, I bugged them, the authors of Blake, about whether it would be possible for them to do a new variant, and they're like, that would be a lot of work. So this is where we are today.
The third criterion is the theory of games and mathematics. It turns out that Bram Cohen is also involved in the creation of puzzles, different modifications of the Rubik's Cube, as well as author's puzzles. By the way, we can also see this on the account of Bram Cohen, where he posts posts about original moves in chess, as well as the development of author's puzzles. Mathematics, geometry, and logic are all around. And also, Bram is engaged in the development of on-chain games. That is, these are simple games like poker, Californian poker. In fact, he puts a more serious goal of testing payment channels.
You're playing over a state channel most of the time. So so that's real-time play, as long as you're in the state channel. But there's a problem if the opponent just disappears or is griefing you or something, then play falls back to being on-chain. That's the only thing. And so there, it's like one transaction on-chain per move. A very fast and fun game. It's our reference game, but it is a real legitimate game of skill. And it fits the medium really well, in particular because you can implement it, and it has very, very few turns in it. And this very like Nash equilibrium kind of outguessing the opponent seems to be what fits the medium. Like,
while I was in high school, I was writing stuff to do stochastic solving of like recoloring things and stuff just for fun. You just assume that you have some special understanding and knowledge of the structure of the problem that you can use in a custom solver you write yourself. And that turns out to only very, very rarely actually be the case. But the variant, so when you're solving them, there's kind of two approaches, either an exhaustive search, which is guaranteed to tell you that there's a solution if there is one, or one that's stochastic, where it's just kind of messing with it, trying to find a solution, but not guaranteed to search the entire space. The benefit of that approach is it's much more likely to find a solution on problems that are too big for exhaustive search to actually work, to actually finish, to guarantee finish. So walk set is a tweak to the approach, to the ways of doing the mess around with it until you find a solution thing. That's kind of the basis to this day for how all those things work. So I came up with that when I was in high school.
The fourth criterion is the knowledge of economics.
So the legacy banking system is doing a lot better than it was historically. So in the 1900s, there were these banking crises on the scale of the Great Recession that happened every 10, 15 years or something. It was horrible. So eventually it was figured out that you can't trust bankers, right? If you talk to bankers, they're not going to say this in so many words, but implicitly the message is the number one thing you can do to increase value is to figure out more sophisticated methods of obfuscating leverage. That is like the goal of banking, is to do that. The incentives for them are to do this. If you're a CEO of a bank, right, and you go, okay, well, how do I make more money? It's like, I know,
I'll increase the leverage. So after the Great Depression, very strong regulations were put in place to reduce the amount of leverage that banks could possibly have. And that worked great until the rules started getting loosened up and banks got really good at doing these like futures and stuff and just dumping all their risk into that. And then the bank shareholders get wiped out. Well, actually, that was the thing that was really messed up in the Great Recession is the AIG shareholders got to keep their equities. Screw those guys. But generally speaking, when the government steps in to fix a crisis, it just says, well, we'll backstop everything. It very rarely has to pay out on that. And when it does take stuff over, it often makes a massive profit. Actually, the federal government made a profit off the Troubled Asset Relief Program because when no one has any money and you're the only one buying, you often get good deals on everything.
And as we can see, a person is well versed in economics and in the nuances of the banking system. The fifth criterion is behavior. And again, we return to the long-suffering headline in the block of Bitcoin from the British newspaper, The Times. Chancellor on the brink of second bailout for banks. But what am I talking about? Oh yes, it turns out that Bram Cohen is also a fan of newspaper headlines. Listen.
There's an Onion headline many years ago about during the beginning of the Great Recession. It said, Americans protest to Alan Greenspan, demand another bubble to invest in.
And now let's go back to the ex-Bram Cohen's account. What do we have here? Here is a list of cypherpunk messages, all sorts of games, hardware. And quite by chance, another headline from the newspaper, Dewey defeat Truman. He published this headline in 2020 during the election race in the United States. And now let's listen to what Bram Cohen and Satoshi Nakamoto have to say about Bitcoin. And these opinions somehow miraculously coincide again.
And the other thing is people were getting excited about it because of the price of it going up, which was very much against what Satoshi was going for from that quote you were saying. So people argue about Satoshi's vision, and it's actually kind of funny because Satoshi wasn't very big on asset bubbles either. But now I, much to my detriment, hate asset bubbles. I want to build real value.
And Bitcoin is absolutely money. Now, a lot of the usage of money, of Bitcoin, is just speculation, which, okay, sure, you can do that. I'm not excited about speculation in general. I'd really like it to be being used more as money for real commerce.
It is very interesting, friends. The picture is forming. In my opinion, Bram Cohen is just openly responsible for Satoshi. Didn't you think so? There is something about it, friends. Yes, there is something about it. Let's look further.
The others who've looked for Satoshi have been looking under the streetlights, searching for Satoshi among cryptographers and internet figures, obvious places, public spaces, rather like police lineups where he isn't. He's in the long grass, and he plays a long game. So I searched in a different way. I've asked, what would Sherlock Holmes have done? Sherlock Holmes would try to enter the mind of the perpetrator. He has struck once, he will strike again, and he will stop at nothing. Watson, what we are facing on the loose is a cunning, determined, relentless serial benefactor. I say, Holmes, but what makes you think you can find his identity and unmask him? In order to unmask him, Watson, we must divine his modus operandi, his signature, his standard caper. If he then does the same thing in the clear, under his own name, it will let slip the real identity of Satoshi Nakamoto.
Are you looking to make Chia the global currency? What would you say is your grandest vision, your biggest hope for Chia?
Oh, my biggest hope is that people use it. It's like, you want to get people actually doing things with it. If I'm like thinking about how can I, really change the world, it's like, well, my wildest dreams, it's like people just start doing banking in Chia. Like people get their paycheck in Chia and then buy things when they go to the store in Chia, and that's all the way through there. That's like the great, far off, insane hope of everything. But in the much more short term, I'm thinking just having it be used as something that's enabling commerce in some way, that's really making the gears of finance work better than they have been, particularly in places where the finance system is falling apart.
So when did you hear? Did you hear like around inception? Were you aware of it like right at the beginning? Or?
Like 2013, maybe.
Okay, so it took a while. So that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'd heard of it before that, but people were pestering me about it. I'm like, go away. I want nothing to do with it. Go away. So people told me, Bram, there actually is some interesting tech under there. You should look into it.
Okay.
And eventually I was like, okay. Yeah, so eventually I started looking into it.
Just think about it. A person who was the first in the world to create a stable, huge peer-to-peer system does not know anything about the launch of Bitcoin in 2008, learns about it only in 2013. More precisely, they brought him by the hand. Literally in the sense of this word, they brought him by the hand and shows him that there is such an interesting technology of Bitcoin. And already in 2017, he attracts investments from venture funds more than $100 million per second and talks about his hopes of how he could change the world financial system. Think about it. Is it possible? Of course not, friends. All this is possible only when you are an idealist and not when you have studied technology for 3-4 years, take huge funds and produce a super cryptocurrency which is mined on hard drives, think about it, and which subsequently caused a huge boom and a shortage of the same hard drives on the market. Indeed, in 2021-2022, there was a huge shortage of hard drives all over the world due to the mining of chia coins. And here I have a parallel only with Bitcoin, which at one time caused a shortage of video cards. And just don't say, friends, that this is not the same handwriting. And most likely, Bitcoin was just a test of the pen. It was a preliminary testing. No matter how funny it sounds, friends, but these are not my guesses. These are the words of Bram Cohen.
I remember Bitcoin was more a silly project back then. It was an experiment that got out of hand.
Let's remember why Satoshi created Bitcoin, the very principle. He considered Bitcoin as a cash system that would be used in real trading, in real business, but people perceived it a little differently. People saw this as an opportunity for speculation, plus the opportunity to buy prohibited substances in the darknet in the year 2011 and 2012. Yes, once Bitcoin was paid for pizza, friends, but this is somehow insignificant. And what do you think? Did the creator like it? In my opinion, this disappointed him very much.
Satoshi actually rage quit.
What is rage quit?
Rage quit, where you go, fuck y'all, I'm out of here, and just leave. And burn the bridges on the way out.
Yes, you might think that a person is just fooling around, laughing. Not at all starts to say that Bitcoin was an experiment, says how Satoshi left, but it turns out that all this is sincere, open, and not at all accidental. And now a brief summary. Is Bram Cohen capable of creating huge decentralized global systems alone? Yes, it is capable. The experience of creating BitTorrent proves this to us. Does Bram Cohen have extensive programming and cryptography skills? Yes, there is a colossal potential. Does Bram Cohen know the theory of games and can calculate a few steps ahead? Definitely yes, this is his passion. Is Bram Cohen familiar with the history of the economy and the problems of the banking system? Yes, today we found out. Are the narratives similar, the vision of the situation and the desires of Satoshi Nakamoto and Bram Cohen? More than. Conclusion. Bram Cohen is highly likely to be Satoshi, which gives us the opportunity to consider it as a suspect in the general scheme.
So, it's no secret that Bram Cohen and Len Sassaman were best friends. At one time, they even rented an apartment together. Question: could Bram Cohen know about the psychological state of Len Sassaman, who was very bad at the time? Yes, he could.
That was what Len did, like a lot. That was like his life. And I didn't even know what his handles on the cypherpunks list were. I knew he had them. And then he killed them a few times. It's kind of this low grade. When people are suicidal, they will sometimes do this like low-grade suicide where they don't really want to kill themselves, so they kill the pseudonym rather than killing themselves.
Did Bram know Hal Finney, a friend and partner in PGP Len Sassaman? He knew, but as he says, he didn't know him well.
And the other thing is he was friends with Hal, who I also knew, but not nearly as well.
Could Bram know about Hal Finney's health? Of course he could. And how could he know? He could learn about Hal Finney's health through Len Sassaman. Yes, we all know that Hal Finney received the first transaction from Satoshi Nakamoto before he was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. But one thing is clear, that the relapse of the disease occurs much earlier, and in turn, Bram could have known about Hal's disease in advance. And now what do we have? Len Sassaman and Hal Finney, partners in PGP who worked on encryption programs and who had huge health risks, could be an ideal target for covering up tracks of Satoshi. Do you understand what I'm talking about? By 2011, Len already had huge psychological and depressive disorders, and the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis diagnosis of Hal Finney was given in 2009. If we look at how many people live with such a diagnosis, we will see that at best about 5 years. And if we understand this, then Satoshi, a potential Bram, could know this better than anyone else.
I don't know, the thought that, they had potentially built this thing and then both died really horribly afterwards is just like, I don't know. It's something I hope isn't what happened. But also with the disappearance, it would be consistent because, it's easy to avoid giving yourself away when you're dead.
And now let's ask ourselves what Dorian Nakamoto is doing in this scheme. Most likely, he served as a hint to Hal and Len, because, as the media found out, Dorian Nakamoto lived in just 2 blocks from Hal. Could the real name of Dorian Prentice Satoshi Nakamoto have to find out Bram? Most likely he could. It's a matter of technique. My friends, let's just throw away all the crazy theories. That Hal Finney froze himself so that later, after 100 years, he would recover and take the super expensive Bitcoin. Friends, throw it away. The theory that Len and the other Bitcoin developers did not share anything and he was killed. Friends, throw it away too. By including elementary logic, we understand that the scheme is quite simple. It's just a cold calculation. But how did Bram deduce all the suspicions? Most likely, he deduced the suspicions by referring Satoshi to BitTorrent. That is, he hid everything in the most visible place, friends. The old rules, they didn't go anywhere, and they work great to this day. Remember the year of birth of Satoshi, 1975. The year of birth of Bram is 1975. Any blogger will immediately think, but why would a person give himself away right away?
Satoshi added his birthday to his P2P Foundation profile as April 5th, 1975, which would make him 33 years old at the time of the white paper release. Today, he would be 49 years old. This fits the age range suggested by the double spacing habit, but let's be real, would he really give away his real birthday?
It's almost too easy.
And there's an interesting interpretation of this date that I want to share with you. Namely, on the 5th of April 1933, President Franklin D. Roosevelt signed and executed Order 6102, essentially banning the private ownership of gold. In 1975, this order was repealed. Given Bitcoin's emphasis on self-custody and financial sovereignty, this choice of birthday could be seen as symbolic.
Yes, the puzzle was originally very compact, and in principle, it was tied only to these 3 figures, and over time, it has grown to such a scale. I do not argue that the figures of Nico Szabo and Adam Beck in this scheme are quite fair, because Satoshi was confused about the academic writing of the White Book and the writing of texts in British English. But this puzzle is doomed to grow further, something like the number of nodes in the Bitcoin network. And now we see Peter Todd in it. The HBO company suspected him of creating Bitcoin. But look at the reviews for this film. Most viewers are in disbelief, well, including me. And this year they suspected Dyra M. Hopwood. The story with her is generally incomprehensible. Whether she is transgender or she is a woman, I can't understand, friends. And I just want to ask the investigators a question. Guys, are you serious? Satoshi is now looking at all this and laughing at you. Okay, you may not believe my version. You can even throw it away. But let's imagine for a second, if it's true, then this selfie may well become epochal, because a person who is highly likely to be Satoshi, who could launch this Trojan virus into the world economy, takes a selfie on the New York Stock Exchange, in the heart of this economy. And if this is true, then reality can be much crazier than even the boldest inventions about the freezing of Hal Finney. As for the Chia Network Company, then here the situation is double. I do not rule out that the company may even go bankrupt, that XCH can cost less than $1, easily. Well, you understand all these long corrections, lack of liquidity, and thus the entire crypto market simply falls down, including Chia. But I also do not rule out that in the future this blockchain will become global and will live its own life, something like Bitcoin. And on this beautiful note, our video ends. Like the comment, as promised, share this video. Good luck to everyone, friends, and see you soon.
You got there
And blew
far
it.
too easily.